absorb blue light really well, what color will the effect be? What do you think? Any guesses?
Green?
No, not quite. If I've only got blue light, and I'm taking away the blue, what's left? Nothing, which would be
White?
the opposite, shadow. So making a shadow, it'd be dark. Right? So it'll look kind of blackish, grayish. So if I take away blue from blue, I'm left with no light, which is dark. So what they'll see is there's actually quite a strong gray bow tie spinning in that blue space. And that's really easily. And except for very few individuals, everybody can see it that way. So if someone's really struggling and they can't get to even the first step on the white, you can actually force the machine into blue mode by entering the wrong answer in the first step. And it will instantly switch to blue, and you'll see it will light up their face blue. And then they can do the blue test. And if they're going to score more than a 1, they can go through the blue test really quickly. There's only 8 steps in the blue, not 10. And they'll go, and you go, okay, there you've done it in blue, that's great. Take a quick breather, let's try it again in white. Now you know what you're doing, you get a feel for it, let's try it in white. And you'll see sometimes they can get 1 or 2 in the white. Sometimes they can't, and that's fine. If they can score all in the blue, they get a score of 1. It means they can see, they've got macular pigments, they can do something, but they don't have enough to get to a 1 on the main scale. So we just give them a score of 1, bottom score. All right. This was the most important part. When they get to that threshold, you want to find a way to tell them to try really hard, to really focus on the task, to do the best they can. And I usually say, do you get any sense of motion? Is there anything going on there at all? Do you see any sense of yellow kind of spinning in one direction? And that's usually enough to get them to kind of give you an answer. But do not guess. So I don't want you just coming up with a number or a direction. It has to be a sense that you get of this direction. And that sort of balance between a sense of direction and guessing can be a bit hard. You'll notice in the video, when we did the video, as the gentleman was answering, he was like, yeah, it's going clockwise, anti-clockwise. And then he was like, anti-clockwise? You could hear his intonation in his voice. He was questioning. He wasn't sure. He was actually questioning. I think it's going this way, and you can hear it in their voice. That's a really important clue because it tells you it's getting hard. So I now know where this person's threshold is. And on the next one in the video, I forced him to answer, and he said, "Oh, yeah, anti-clockwise." And I said, "Are you sure about that? Would you bet your house on that?" I said, "No, I'm not so sure." Well, then we say no. I press the middle question button because I'm not sure he's got it right. And I just say no, not right. We'd rather they ended when they can't see it. They tell you they can't see it, than betting on a guess. That's really important.
So
Yeah.
they don't know, like in the center when you press it, that's like
That's the end of the test. Exactly, that's right. So there's clockwise, anti-clockwise, and don't know. And don't know ends the test. Or getting it wrong ends the test. If you do it more than once. That's a good point. And there's no time limit. I think that's really important because it doesn't take long. As you'll see when we do the test, it never takes more than, I've had some, particularly Asian patients actually, sort of Japanese, Chinese, they're really careful with testing. And so they try really hard every single time. And I've had one where I thought, oh geez, they're not going to get past 2. They're taking so long on the first one, and they get it right. And the next one, and they get it right. And they get all the way to 8, but they take so long in every one, they want to be absolutely sure. So you'll get different personality types that will take different amounts of time. That's okay, but they need to know there's no time limit. Alright, so this part here, when you're actually putting them on the machine, nowadays, especially post-COVID, we always like to clean it just before people put their face in so they feel comfortable with the machine. Get them to remove their glasses, that's important. You want to adjust the height, so if you've got an adjustable chair, because we want them to be comfortable. So it should be that it's because it's at a 45-degree angle, it's pretty easy for most people, but just get them to be comfortable in there so they're not straining their neck and all that stuff. They want their forehead and cheeks touching the device. Sometimes you can't get the sides, that's fine. Doesn't matter about the room lighting because you're controlling the lighting inside the tube of the device, so that's fine. The only thing I would say is if it's near a window and the sun shining through and it's shining on the machine, that can be a bit of an issue. So just have it so it's not facing a way that the sunlight can get in there. Some people have tiny noses, and on a cold day, if their nose is inside the device and they're breathing through the nose a lot, it'll fog up on the inside, and that makes it much harder to see. So everybody's different. So maybe in that case, you just sometimes even just a piece of paper can just be put in there, little cloth, just to make it so their nose breathing goes out, or ask them to breathe through their mouth. But it's rare. Much more common in colder countries like mine. What else can I say? I think that's really all we need to know about that part. So that's just getting their head in the right spot. All right, motivation, so helping them. This is about using a calm voice. So just being really relaxed with them so they feel comfortable. There's no stress here to do this test. You always want to respond when they give you an answer. So just say something like, oh, well done, keep going, that's great. You don't want to say yes or no or correct or incorrect, that doesn't matter. Just some sort of affirmation that they've done well, that they're carrying on. Keep going. Listen to their voice, and this is the important part. You're listening for when it starts to get difficult, and then you can help support them to get through that last couple. And as I say, it's a balance between pushing them to get to that next step, but not forcing them to guess. You don't want them guessing. And the last part is verification or checking. So at the end of the test, it'll come up with a screen like this if the test was a good test, and it'll say, this result says high, key action, invite them back for regular monitoring. That's fine. This person scored a 10. That's a really great score. It's very rare. Whenever somebody scores a 10, I always ask, what do you eat? What do you do? I really want to know because there aren't that many 10s out there. So usually you'll find out that they're like an organic gardener, they're vegetarian, they never smoked in their life, they seem super fit and healthy. They look younger than they actually are. That's the classic 10s, right? But you also get some people that just out of the blue, 10, you don't know why. Can't explain it. They just are. It happens. If you press on the last screen the analysis button, you get this, which is the output of the actual device. And this will show you how they scored on each step of the test. So it starts at 1 and goes to 10, and you can see there's a timeline on the other axis. So up here, that's time. Oh, sorry, mouse is not there. There we go. That's time over here, so how long they took. And then this is each of the steps. And this person scores an 8. And you can see this is what we call a perfect test. So at the first few steps, it's super easy for them. They can see it really well. So they answer within about a second. Bang, 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 clockwise, anti-clockwise, clockwise. When they get to 6, it starts to get a bit harder. They take a little bit more time. 7, it's getting harder now. And 8, they take quite a bit of time. Taking almost 10 seconds before they kind of give you an answer. You're sort of probably biathlon, you're probably pulling out of them. Can you see anything there? Any direction at all? Yeah, I think so. And then they give you an answer. And the last one, this person forced them to take a lot of time to really look at it. You sure? Can you see anything at all? And the person's struggling for 13, 14 seconds and then eventually says, no, I can't see it. Fine, that's good, done. And that's a perfect test. That's what you want to see every time. You won't see that every time, unfortunately. The different scores that come out, so you get a high score, you get a low score. So this is scores, someone scoring 1, or even 2, 3, or 4, it'll say, protection. So this isn't necessarily something you would say to the patient at the time, but this is just the general, just because we have everybody different types of use cases, different recommendations. Somebody scores moderate, sort of 6, 7, 8. In this case here, the person was unable to complete, so we don't have a 0, so this will actually say that they just couldn't do it at all, in which case there may be a reason for that, and you can look at the different reasons. So it could be that they have already some macular degeneration occurring, they can't see with their macula. They might have different types of color vision dysfunction, which don't allow them to do the test, severe convergence deficiency, or really strong cataracts, which strong eyes, and you can probably see that they're looking a bit white. Those are the main reasons you can't see it. So this test, so when a test comes out and the score isn't perfect, the machine has an algorithm inside, it looks at the data and says, okay, actually that's not a very good test. It doesn't give you the score on the little round circle, it goes straight to the analysis. And that's telling you as the operator, doesn't look quite right. So looking at this data, this is the message it's saying, suggest retesting, patients to take their time and answer, I don't know, when they're unsure of the direction. Looking at this data set, what do you think's happening here? Anybody want to take a guess?
They're taking forever to answer?
Well, they're taking a long time on this one, but it's not a really long time, it's 7 seconds. Right, so what do you think they're doing here? They're pretty quick, right? They probably can see it.
Yeah.
All right, and then they slow down at 5,
And
and then they take quite a long time at 6. So do you think they can see 6? I mean, they got it right. Think they can see it?
I think 6 is
Yeah, okay. What do you think happened at 7?
Yes.
Yes, exactly. So they got 1, and the next one, they probably said, yeah, clockwise. All right, great. And then they went to the next one, and then they answered within 4 seconds, anti-clockwise. You're like, hang on a second, took you a while, took you a long time, and now you're coming back sounding almost confident on one that, and so this is happening live. You're not seeing this output at the time, but you're listening and you're getting used to hearing and you're going, wait a second, that seems a bit suspicious. And then they answer clockwise at the end, and then the test ends. Like, so they didn't get it right. And then it pops up on this screen, you go, wait a second here. That's not right. They didn't do the test quite right. So everyone's different. This person didn't listen to the instructions. They didn't sort of catch that thing about not guessing. They had a go at it, and you come up with a score. Now, in the big picture of things, this isn't the end of the world, okay? This person is clearly a 6. On a really great day, maybe they could have got 7, right? The machine has an error margin here because it's a psychophysical test. So we always say plus or minus 1 anyways. So if someone's a 6, some days they might get a 7. Some days they might get a 5. And again, this is that whole thing about what's the number really mean, right? Really the best we can do is high, medium, low, right, in math things. You guys have been using the MPOD for ages. Have you ever noticed that there's only so many numbers? So someone can score a 0.39, and then they can score a 0.42, and then a 0.49. There is no 0.40 or 0.41. There's 20 slots in that machine. And you'll get the same numbers over and over again if you plot them. There's only so many. So same as us, they put a couple extras in the middle, but actually, macular pigments are hard to measure. It's really hard to get an accurate score that's precise every single time. So we're really clear. It's kind of high, medium, low, plus or minus a bit. If you want to be accurate, you measure the person a couple times. So if you've got someone you want to put them on supplements, you might have them come in the first time and they score a 3. You go, okay, fine. Start the conversation with supplements. If they want to take them right away, that's fine. But I'd probably measure them on the MPI again before they leave the shop. I'd say, okay, come on back in, let's measure you one more time. Oh, actually, now they scored a 4. There you go. See, it's plus or minus 1. They're actually a 4. Great, that's fine. Now we know where you are today. Let's monitor you over time. In 6 months' time, a year's time, we're hoping you're going to start bumping up. In 3 years' time, they're coming back, they're 7 or 8. In 5 years' time, they're probably a 10. Most of the 10s I measure are people that are on supplements. And they're usually on supplements because their mom or dad had AMD, they understand the story, and they said, I'm not taking a risk, I'm going on these supplements. And most 10s that I've measured are people that have been on supplements for 3 to 5 years. So we have a sense of how long it takes to get you up that ladder. I don't know where they started, I just know they've told me I've been on them for 3 to 5 years, and I see them scoring a 10. So they were probably somewhere in the middle. Someone's a 1, it could take longer, we don't know for sure. And everyone's different the way they respond. Okay, another example, I think we have one more example here. I'm almost to put having some fun, by the way. So what about this one? So take a look at that and tell me what you think. So it's telling you here, suggest retesting right off the bat. So it does tell you what to do. It says they need to take more time. So looking at that plot, what do you think's happened? Does anybody want to take a guess?
Maybe the patient
What did you say?
maybe the patient don't understand how
How to do the test?
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. You want to add to that?
I was actually going to say it looks like they may need to buy a lottery ticket because they're a good guesser to a certain point.
Spot on, yeah. This person is taking less than 1 second and they're just going clockwise, anti-clockwise, clockwise. And guess what? If you do that, there's a chance you could get to 4 or 5. But that chance is actually pretty low. It's 2 to the end, right? 2 to the 5. If you do the math on that, it's a big number, right? 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Suddenly it's a big number. So your probability is quite low, but it is possible. Of course it's possible. We've done a bunch of things in the test to make it unlikely, because we have lots of flip-flops back and forth. We have it where it goes 2 times in the same direction, sometimes 3 times in the same direction, and the operator has no idea what it's doing. So I can't tell you it's a random score, but it's got some controls in it. So I don't know what it's going. You can't influence the test. So if they go clockwise and they're expecting you to go, try down, that's not going to happen because you don't know. You can't tell. All right. So yeah, that person's just guessed. They're just a guesser. That's a useless score. You need to go back to stage 0. Tell them not to guess. Start again. It's important. Right. If they make a mistake, what happens? Well, there's a couple reasons they can make a mistake. Sometimes they're zipping through clockwise, anti-clockwise, clockwise. Oh no, sorry, I meant anti-clockwise, anti-clockwise. They made a mistake. They genuinely made a mistake. They said the wrong thing. That's okay. That's fine. Hit continue, and they get to do the same one again. So they're on step 4, they do step 4 again, and if they could see it for real, they should get it right. And you just carry on like nothing happened. But they only get to do that once. They only get to make a mistake once and one sort of retry. If they make a mistake in the first 3 presentations. So the way the machine works is it gives you a chance to warm up to it. So it always, and this is really important, it always goes clockwise the first time, anti-clockwise the second time. So just so you know, right now, you should all score 1, because I just told you that basically the secrets of the test, right? The reason it does that is that a lot of people out there have trouble with clockwise and anti-clockwise. We started this machine out in the university testing students, masters, PhDs, and professors. There's professors that can't do clockwise and anti-clockwise. This happens to everybody, right? So one of the things you can do if that's a problem, and also even some kids that have difficulty verbalizing, or the adults, handicapped children, they can't do clockwise and anti-clockwise. One of the ways you can get around all of those problems is to have people use their finger. So on the front of the device there's a nice white surface, or on the table beside with their hands in, and they just go like this. And they just turn their little finger the way that's going. Now, as I said before, using the intonation of their voice is one of the ways you can tell if they're at their threshold. You can still do that if they're moving their finger. Because when it's easy, they usually do nice, big, clear circles. But guess what? When it's hard, they're going to go like this. Right? So they're doing exactly the same. We've seen it tons of times. It works really, really well. So you can do all the same stuff with someone that can't speak or has difficulty getting directions. So if they get it wrong on the very first one, you put them on the device and they go counterclockwise. What are you going to do? You're just going to press counterclockwise and carry on. If you do that, it's going to go into the blue mode. And the blue mode is going to mean they can only score a 1. And that's it. That's the end of this test for them. They get to 1 and that's it. Is that the real score? Probably not. It's probably that they don't know clockwise, anti-clockwise very well. Something else is going on. So what you need to do is say, actually, let's just pop your head in. Okay, so how comfortable are you with going clockwise and anti-clockwise? Which one's which? Just finding out if that's an issue for them. Next, show them the video again. Say, which way is that one going? Well, that's going clockwise. So they can clearly get it. Fantastic, great. And you can see it well. Is that what you saw on the machine? Oh no, I didn't see that at all. I wasn't looking for that. I was looking for something. Okay, so let's figure out why you're getting it wrong the first time, right? That's the first part. And if they get it wrong on the first one, the second one, that's what's going to happen. It's going to go straight to blue, and you just need to know that's what's going to happen. If they get it wrong on the third one, it's still the first step. But that's one where you don't know which direction it's going to go. So again, if they get it wrong on the third one, there's a good chance. They've already done 2 correct. If they could see it, they should get on the third one as well. If they can't see it, then that's probably why they just guess clockwise, anti-clockwise. This one, they probably should be in the blue mode, and that's fine. Let them go to blue, see what happens. If they fly to the blue, and they go all the way to 8, fine, we'll just test them again. Put them back on, we're going to do it white, and you might see they get to 2 or 3. A little fumbling around there happens. Yeah.
So if you do test children, what would be a good age for them to like do the test?
Yeah, again, no easy answer on that one. I say kind of 5 and upwards, but you have to take into consideration some kids are just wired, right? Are they going to stay focused for the 1 minute to do the test? Probably not. So it's probably not worth testing them. I mean, you might be able to do it. The wordings that some of the optometrists have told us they find works best is to call it a little yellow propeller. So like a little airplane propeller going around. Usually best for kids to use their fingers. It's just easier for them. It's closer, easier association. It only takes about a minute. So if they're comfortable and they're calm and they're able to do it, fantastic. But if not, yeah, do the best you can. Yeah. All right, I think we're almost to the point where we can play it. That's what it looks like in blue, by the way. So a gray, same thing but in gray. And as I said before, if you do the test in blue, it'll come up with a score that looks like this, a 1B7, which means the score is a 1, but they've got a blue 7. Okay. And that's because all the blues are so easy they fall into kind of the 1 score. We've not yet collected enough data in people to see whether it's very consistent in the blue. We don't really care. It's not really the point of the test. The blue test was put in to really just give people a chance to do something on the machine. The only one we've actually compared to any other device in the world are the white scale. The blue is just sort of there. It'd be great as we collect more data to start seeing, someone actually does stop at 4, and then with supplementation they get out of the blue over time and then up into the white. That'd be cool, but we're not that worried about it yet. All right, things to watch out for. Really quickly, don't enter the wrong choice in the first 2. So have a conversation. See if you can figure it out first before you just enter it in blindly. That's important. People who can't do the test really are, as I said before, severe cataracts, macular dysfunction, color vision dysfunction typically, sometimes convergence dysfunction again. Usually they can do it, but they're not going to score very accurately. People with difficulty, I'd say stop, re-explain the test really quickly, check if they have one of those conditions. And if all else fails, nothing to worry about. Maybe they just can't do the test, and that's fine. There's going to be some proportion that can't do it. That's okay. Cool. Any questions and all that stuff? We've had lots of questions we went, so thank you for doing that. Ask a question along the way. It's more fun that way. Great stuff. I think it's time to maybe take a little bit of a breather. I've been talking lots.